we crack on to the big political debates of the day, the big cultural stories that we're going to be discussing, we're going to stop for a second and get the response of my panel to what's been going on at ITV. Phillip Schofield, ITV's This Morning, who knew what when, but what does this mean for the programme this morning? What does all of this scandal, what does this saga mean for This Morning? And what does it mean for ITV? They're losing lots of money, it seems.
Well, on a personal scale, I cannot believe how much coverage this has had. This has been leading bulletins across networks. It's acres and acres of newsprint for something that I think is of little interest to quite a lot of people. However, the wider context is about potential abuse of power within the media and a young person. And I think, you know, there are lots and lots of grey areas here. I think it's being blown up into something of a national scandal, which I don't think it is, although I think some people might like it to be. But I think, you know, there are questions about the toxicity in an organisation, whether it's ITV, whether it's the CBI, whether it's the House of Commons, whether it's any other organisation, and particularly with relation to young people and something that might be perceived as an abuse of somebody's power and influence on an impressionable young person. So I think, you know, there are questions, but I don't think this necessarily affects ITV as a whole.
Do you think ITV will essentially get over this, recover from it?
Well, I'm sure they will. I mean, they do good programmes and they make... And also, I think the other thing, Emily, is we all know the media is not like real life. I mean, I started off in newsrooms where people used to throw typewriters at you and you just learnt to duck.
Goodness me, well, I'm glad it's changed for the benefit of, well, not having injuries every day on a daily basis. Connor, your quick reaction to this story. What do you think the future of This Morning? Is this catastrophic? Will they never recover? I mean, advertisers are pulling their brands from the show. You've got contributors refusing to go on. You've got so much secrecy around the whole thing, things we don't know, etc., etc. Everyone has an opinion. What's yours?
I think the show is synonymous with Holly and Phil, therefore it's become a bit of a contaminated brand. You could see with the two hosts before, Alison Hammond, and the guy who presents X Factor. That's it. They look like they're in a hostage situation, trying to skirt around it. So it's toxic as a label. They're probably going to have to move the slate out with something else and a whole new look. And the reason I think it's such ubiquitous coverage is because it's not a national scandal yet, because I think people are holding their breath for if another penny drops. And we've had quite a few media scandals from very popular media heads and a conspiracy of silence in places like the BBC in recent years, and people are wondering if this is going to be something similar.
Yes, and people are, of course, asking whether there are double standards when it comes to the ITV's chief exec. Of course, people like Piers Morgan, Jeremy Clarkson, heads have rolled for less, I would argue, for political reasons. So we shall see how that unfolds. Let us know what you think. There's been so much coverage of this. Perhaps you have strong views either way on the future of ITV's This Morning. But